Okay, greetings everyone. Thank you very much for joining this webinar on behalf of the Research and Initiative Center at Prince Sultan University. This webinar is held as part of the preparation for the Undergraduate Research Forum, which will be held end of April. My name, for those who we have not met before, my name is Dina El-Dakhs. I'm the chair of the Linguistics and Translation Department at the College of Humanities and Sciences at Prince Sultan University. And I'm also the leader of the Applied Linguistic Research Lab at Prince Sultan University. I'm very happy to be talking to undergraduate students today about quantitative research methodology, and I'm focusing on the humanities and social sciences. My colleague, Dr. Amira Qattak, delivered a talk on qualitative research methodology for the humanities and social sciences. That was on Sunday. On Monday, Dr. Ihab Hashish gave a presentation on quantitative research methodology, but for the sciences and for STEM field. And now I'm doing quantitative research methodology again, but focus on humanities and social sciences. I hope the presentation will be helpful to you, and we'll try to make it some interactive in different parts of the presentation. So let me start by just asking you, can you just write in the chat which university you are from? I'm opening the chat. Okay. Prince Sultan. Imam Mohammed bin Saud. Ahlan wa sahlan. Great. KFU. Great. Perfect. All right. So we're all from Saudi University, so we can all join, inshallah, the Undergraduate Research Forum. So this is great. Let me start with my agenda. I'll be talking about what is quantitative research, and then I'll talk about how to choose your research topic, research questions, research background, research design and methods, data collection, data analysis, results, and discussion. And I will leave some time at the end for questions. Of course, this is the undergraduate flyer for the poster for the Undergraduate Research Forum, and I'm sharing the link for you to explore more information about the forum. The deadline to submit your abstracts is on the 15th of April, and the forum itself will be on the April 28th and 29th at Prince Sultan University. It will be a great opportunity for us to network and to learn about your research. And I wanted to start by asking you, why join the forum? Why should you join the forum? What do you think? Do you have any reasons? Why should you join the forum as undergraduate students? Any reasons? Or supervisors can also help us with some reasons. Why an undergraduate research forum? Why should you join? Okay, I can see answers coming up. Let's start. To gain experience, Abdullah. Thank you. Yes, you can give more than one answer. All right, let me share with you some reasons I thought of. This is a saying that I think fits a lot with undergraduate research. Set yourself up for success after graduation. Participate in undergraduate research. If you really want to be ready for success after graduation, then you should participate in undergraduate research. Undergraduate research moves you into graduate programs, helps you to move quickly into graduate programs. Undergraduate research helps you demonstrate higher achievement, and so you are more highly likely to stay in school. Undergraduate research can help you clarify your choice of degree program, and it will help you know more about your career interests and your post-graduation plans. Undergraduate research strengthens your written and your oral communication skills, your critical thinking, your technical skills, your information literacy. Undergraduate research provides opportunities to build a learning community with faculty and fellow students. And undergraduate research builds confidence in your abilities with the discipline and improves your overall perception of the discipline you're working in. So there are lots of opportunities that undergraduate research opens up for you. And this is why I highly encourage you to, if you are students, I highly encourage you to participate in the forum. If you are a supervisor, I highly encourage you to encourage your students to participate in this forum by the Research Initiative Center. I wanted also to start with some quotes. Research is seeing what everybody else has seen and thinking what nobody else has thought. And this is the beauty of research, that we all see the same thing, but then people see different things and they come up with different conclusions. Also, research means that you don't know, but are willing to find out. And this willingness to find out is extremely beneficial, and it helps you to broaden your horizons. It helps you to broaden your perspectives and see. This is why we always give this quote: take all the courses in your curriculum, do the research, ask questions, find someone doing what you're interested in, be curious. So let me start now with what is quantitative research. What is quantitative research? Now, anybody would like to start by defining what is quantitative research? What do we mean by quantitative research? Give me one word only that when we say quantitative research, something comes to your mind. Survey, okay. Numerical aspect, thank you very much. I had this from Saleh Al-Mutiri. Numerical aspect, thank you. Survey is also related, I agree. Applying data, okay, thank you so much. Yes, the numerical aspect is actually, I will highlight it the most. And I will say quantitative research is the process of collecting and analyzing numerical data. Yes, we are talking about numbers. So it can be used to find patterns and averages, make predictions, test causal relationships, and generalize results to wider populations. So quantitative research, we're mainly talking about numerical data. We're mainly talking about numbers. And this is why quantitative research is the opposite of qualitative research. What Dr. Amira was talking about on Sunday about qualitative research, which involves collecting and analyzing non-numerical data like text, video, or audio. This is different than quantitative research, which we are talking about today. And quantitative research is widely used in natural and social sciences. All right, the first step when I want to do a quantitative research project is to select a topic. And of course, to select the topic, you need, number one, to identify your interests. You need to make sure that the topic you're interested in, because it's very difficult to work on a topic for months, which is not of interest to you. And at the same time, it's important to identify the gap. It's important to read a little bit in the literature and to know what is the area, not necessarily that nobody has explored before, but there is relatively little research about. And so you can, with your research, you can contribute to this area. Or where there is different opinions about, people for, people against. And so you can, with your research, contribute to this debate. So it's very important to choose a topic that is of interest and a topic that somehow fills gap in the literature. You need then to narrow down your topic and refine it, to evaluate it and make sure that it is what we call SMART, that it is specific, it is measurable, it is achievable. We can achieve it. This is very important because we don't want to choose a research project that is too difficult to be achieved, too difficult to be implemented. So what's the point? Also, we need a topic that is relevant and a topic that is time bound, that can be finished within the time that we have for the project. Sometimes we dream too much and we have a project, a grand project to do, but the project is not achievable within the time limit. It's not achievable because we don't have the resources. Then we should not really go for this project. We should go for a project for which we have enough resources, for which we have enough materials, for which we can really explore and achieve. You will review and revise your topic in light of this evaluation. And a very important tip, try to communicate your project to other people. Because when you communicate to other people, they will give you feedback. And when they give you feedback, you try to refine it more and improve your topic further. You need, as we said, a manageable topic, a topic that is not too broad and a topic that is not too narrow. For example, if I talk about leadership in general, or cancer in general, or healthcare in general, this is a topic that is too broad. It focuses on one important concept. This kind of search will find thousands of results for you to look through, and so this will be a very difficult topic to explore. We also don't want a too narrow topic, a topic that has many concepts or focuses on a very specific geographical area or group, and so it will give me very few results. For example, burnout of neonatal nurses aged 30 to 40 in Chicago, or academic achievement of third graders in Florida private schools, or the effect drought has on bird migration along the Mississippi River in Wabasha County, Minnesota. These are also too narrow topics. No, we don't need something too broad. We don't want something too narrow. We need something that is a topic that is, as we said, manageable before, like these ones. How does leadership impact employee retention? Or the socioeconomic status impact academic achievement in elementary schools? These are topics that focus on 2 or 3 important concepts, and so it allows a search to bring back enough information without having to look through thousands of items. So, if you have a topic that is too broad, try to narrow it down. If you look at the first example, this is a very too broad topic. Is technology negatively affecting high school students? What do you mean by technology? This is too broad. And what do you mean by affecting high school students? I might try to narrow it down by saying, is ubiquity of smartphones making it difficult for high school students to concentrate on the classroom? So instead of talking about technology in general, I'll make it smartphones. And instead of making it vague, affect high school students, I will just talk about their ability to concentrate. Another example, have political campaigns become more negative? This is too broad. Now, how can I make it narrower? How has the 24-hour news cycle contributed to negative rhetoric in recent presidential campaigns? Now, here I made the topic narrow, and I can get me the results I want, and it's not too broad that I will have thousands of results that I cannot really figure out. And the same thing, if you have a topic that is too narrow, try to broaden it. Look at the first example. How does the television show Rick and Morty explore dysfunctional father-son relationships? Now try to broaden that. So how are father-son relationships represented in animated television shows from the past 2 decades Instead of focusing only on Rick and Morty, but we can just talk about animated television shows from the past 2 decades. Another example of a topic that is too narrow is Snapchat contributing to low self-esteem among 13 to 15-year-old girls. Instead of focusing only on Snapchat, instead of focusing on 13 to 15-year-old girls, we can say how do visually charged social media, including Snapchat, platforms affect the self-esteem of teenage girls. I hope the idea is clear to you that we need a manageable topic. We don't need a too broad topic. We don't need a too narrow topic. And we don't need topic that we cannot achieve at the same time. Once you have your topic, you try to develop your research questions. And I hope that you have already some research questions in mind that you're trying to explore for your project now. If you have one research question already ready for your topic, can you please share it in the chat? If somebody has already started preparing for the undergraduate research forum and you already have a research question that you will be addressing in the forum, can you please write it in the chat? Or if it's not for the forum, if there is a research question that you're already exploring now and you're working on a project for it, this also will be great. All right, just try to think, and I will ask the question again once I finish this section of the presentation. So, developing research questions. Just a minute. Yes, okay. Now, your research questions need to be focused on a single problem, need to be researchable using primary or secondary sources. If you don't have enough sources to research the question, then please reconsider. It has to be feasible, again, achievable. It can, within the time frame that I have, within the practical constraints that I have, I can find an answer. It has to be specific enough to answer thoroughly, but complex enough to develop an answer over the space of a paper or a thesis. And it has to be relevant to your field of study and or also society. It's important, to have to do a research project that you feel is relevant to your community or to your society, so that you feel that you're contributing also to the welfare of people around you. For example, if you have a research problem like this in your mind, teachers at the school do not have the skills to recognize or properly guide gifted children in the classroom. What can be a research question that you can come up with? Maybe you can come up with this research question. What practical techniques can teachers use to better identify and guide gifted children? Or if you have this research problem, young people increasingly engage in the gig economy rather than traditional full-time employment. However, it is unclear why they choose to do so. The research question can be something like, what are the main factors influencing young people's decisions to engage in the gig economy? As you can see in the questions, also the variables are defined. So your independent variable, which is the factor you manipulate or consider as the cause in the study, and the dependent variable, which is what you measure or the effect that is being studied, are defined within your research question. So, for example, if we look at this research question, does remote work positively impact the productivity of IT professionals in the United States? We have the independent variable of remote work. This is the cause. And we have the dependent variable productivity of IT professionals. And we need to operationalize our variables. We need our variables to turn into something measurable, into numbers. We need to operationalize our variables. So our independent variable, something like remote work, could be for example, operationalized in the terms of the number of hours per week people work. So we turned it into a number. What do we mean by remote work here in this study? In this study, it will refer to the number of hours per week that people work. Or dependent variable like productivity of IT professionals. Again, we need to operationalize it. So it can be operationalized in terms of measuring productivity, in terms of, something like the number of tasks completed, in terms of quality ratings of completed tasks, in terms of time taken to complete certain tasks. So we have also turned it into a number that we can measure. This is very important in quantitative research. Would anybody now like to share a research question that they are working on? Perhaps later in the discussion that we will have at the end, if somebody has questions or comments. All right, so we've chosen the topic, we've developed our research question. It's very important to go back to the literature for two reasons. The first reason is to look at the previous studies and to make sure that you have properly organized your literature. I mean, what have other people said about this topic before? That you synthesize the results into a summary of what is and is not known. You identify areas of controversy in the literature. And as we said before, when you have areas in the literature where some people are for, some people are against, this is a good area where you can start doing your research and contributing to the discussion. And also you make sure that you highlight the gap in the literature that your research question is addressing. What is it that you are contributing to? While doing so, of course, it's important to avoid plagiarism in all parts of your project. But I chose to put plagiarism here in literature review because this is the area that most undergraduates have problem with plagiarism. Plagiarism means to pass off someone else's work, intentionally or unintentionally, as your own. So you don't want, of course, to plagiarize. So this is why try to avoid copy and paste. Try to use different sources. Try to develop your own style, and try to also use summarizing and paraphrasing. And of course, this is lots of practice can be done on that. There are lots of sources online that you can refer to for how to paraphrase, how to summarize. Use quotation marks when needed, and check your work for similarity. And now there are, of course, different platforms where you can check your work for similarity, like Turnitin, like Grammarly. It's important to check and to see the similarity index and to see how you can minimize the similarity index, because there are different people set it at 15%, sometimes at 18%. So you try to minimize it as much as possible. Also, it's important to do theoretical framework. Sometimes your topic is related to a theoretical framework. Theories are developed by researchers to explain phenomena, to draw connections, and to make predictions. So in the theoretical framework, you explain the existing theories that support your research, showing that your project is relevant and grounded in established ideas. Two important things about your theoretical framework. Number one, that you identify the key concepts. You identify the key concepts in your project. So, for example, if you're doing a research project where the problem is many online customers do not return to make subsequent purchases, so your objective of the project is to increase the quantity of return customers, and your research problem is how can the satisfaction of company X's online customers be improved in order to increase the quantity of return customers. Two important concepts here in this project is customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. then you need to make sure in the theoretical background that these concepts are very well explained, and if there are models or theories that are related to them, they are well illustrated. Number two, you need to evaluate and explain relevant theories. You need to discuss the models or the theories that are relevant to these concepts. And if there is a theory or a model that is very famous, but you are not going to use it, it's okay. But then you have to be ready to say why I am not using this theory, why I have chosen to follow this model and I have not chosen to follow this model. It's okay to choose a model and to disregard another. But just I have to be careful and say, I will follow this theory, but I will not follow the other theory. And why? And please remember that literature review is different than theoretical framework. A theoretical framework describes the theoretical underpinnings of your work, while a literature review critically evaluates sources relating to your topic. Once you are sure of your research, of your background, have a good research question, and you feel that you have good grounds in the literature, then it's time to choose your research method and your research design. Can paraphrasing be considered plagiarism sometimes? It will be, of course, Saleh, if you don't quote. Because, right, when we paraphrase, we also quote, but we quote according to APA, we quote with the year. Like you will write that you quoted Johnson, 1999, but you will not write the page number. But when you quote, actual quote, not a paraphrase, then you will also include the page number. So yes, you need to write when you paraphrase also the quote, the reference. All right, so let's now go for the research design and methods. Of course, research design, there are different research designs. Maybe you are only describing a particular phenomenon, so it will be descriptive. Maybe you are investigating a relationship between two or more variables, so it will be correlational. Maybe you are assessing the impact of an intervention, so it will be quasi-experimental. Maybe you are controlling an environment and controlling all potential confounding variables and manipulating the variables that you want, so it will be a true experimental design. Of course, the research design here, nobody can tell you, do correlational, do experimental. It depends on your research question, what your research question requires. Also, you have to choose a method to do your research. Perhaps the most common in undergraduate research are either surveys, as one of you said before, or an experiment. But there are other, of course, research methods in quantitative research. For example, an experiment, I've given you here some examples. I got you some examples to test whether an intervention can reduce procrastination in college students. You give equal-sized groups either a procrastination intervention or a comparable task, and you compare self-ratings of procrastination behaviors between the groups after the intervention. A survey, like you make a questionnaire with rating scales to first-year international college students to investigate their experience of culture shock, for example. You may do observation. So to study college classroom participation, you sit in classes to observe them, counting and recording the prevalence of active and passive behaviors by students from different backgrounds. Or you may do secondary research, like to assess whether the attitudes towards climate change have changed since 1980s. You collect relevant questionnaire data from widely available longitudinal studies, and then you examine all these longitudinal studies to come up with conclusions. These are different research methods. I want to elaborate a little bit on the two most common, which are experiments and surveys. Experiments are used in the humanities and the social sciences as well. One early example that we have is when Norman Triplett conducted one of the first known experiments in 1895, focusing on social facilitation. He observed that cyclists tend to perform better when cycling in the presence of someone else as opposed to cycling alone. So he created this effect in his laboratory experiment where he demonstrated how children complete a task faster than when working in pairs than working individually. That was an experiment. When we do an experiment, we need again to make sure that the experiment we design determines or matches with our research question, defines the variable well, what is the independent variable, what is the dependent variable. It is based on a hypothesis that we generate, and it works with a good design, and the groups are also balanced. Now, if I'm making a study on whether implicit or explicit teaching is better to teach phrasal verbs to students, so I may have a group where one experimental group where they will learn implicitly, one experimental group where they will learn explicitly, and one control group to be as the baseline for comparison. So I have to balance my groups as well. For surveys, we need to define a clear and attainable goal for the survey. Don't let the survey be too long, otherwise people will get bored. Don't ask leading questions. Leading questions are questions in which you include your opinion. Like you tell them, how helpful is this, whatever. I mean, you're already telling them it is helpful. Keep your answer choices balanced. Like when you give them choices, the rating scale, like it is helpful, I find it extremely helpful, helpful, or neither helpful or non-helpful. Now, this is not enough. This is not balanced. You need to make it extremely helpful, helpful, neither helpful or unhelpful, and then unhelpful, extremely unhelpful, so that there is balance. Avoid using absolute words like all, every, always. Avoid using double-barreled questions that address more than one topic. And of course, preview the survey. And it's always better in all studies or all research methods we use to consult somebody on your work in order to validate it and to try to pilot it first to make sure, like, simply give the survey to some of your teachers. You already have a supervisor to read through and to give comments. Give the survey to other students and let them try to work it out. So they give you feedback. They tell you this sentence is not clear, this sentence is confusing, we did not know how to use the scale, and so on. Once you've chosen your method, now it's time to do data collection. And in quantitative research, it's very important to differentiate between your population and your sample. Generally, the word population refers to the people who live in a particular area at a specific time. But in statistics, population refers to data on your study of interest. It can be a group of individuals, it can be objects, it can be events, it can be organizations. So we use population to draw conclusions. The word sample is defined as a smaller or more manageable representation of a larger group, a subset of a larger group that contains characteristics of that population. And a sample is used in statistical testing when the population size is too large for all members or observations to be included in the test. The sample is unbiased subset of the population that best represents the whole data. And of course, you most of the time use a sample, not the whole population, when the population is too large. For example, if I want to study that documents, a study that documents the results of a new medical procedure, it is very difficult to get this medical procedure and give it to everyone in the world, right, in order to make sure it works. But we will choose a sample, we'll choose a group of people and apply this medical procedure to, and then we draw conclusions. So this is why we need a sample. We cannot apply it to the whole population. Of course, the sample should satisfy all different variations present in the population. So it should be, for example, if I'm going to choose a sample, maybe I can have male and female, I can have young and old, I can have all the different variations. I can have people from different backgrounds, educational backgrounds. I can have people from different economic backgrounds. It depends on the population that I have in mind. They should be unbiased and they should be as much as possible random. I should choose them random. It's not that I have these three friends, so these are the friends that I will do the experiment on. No, I have to try to choose randomly my sample. These are some examples of what sample could be like. For instance, if I'm studying the use of persuasive strategies in research article abstracts, then my sample will be 200 or 300 or 400 abstracts that I collect and try to analyze. The perceptions of Saudi undergraduates of the use of ChatGPT for academic purposes, my sample will be maybe 400, 500 undergraduate students who will reply to my survey. The advising strategies the Saudi Ministry of Health uses on Twitter to encourage the public to follow a healthy lifestyle. My sample will be the 400, 500, or 1,000 tweets that I collect and analyze. The effective method to teach phrasal verbs to Saudi undergraduate students, my sample will be the 90 or 120 students to which I will apply this experiment, maybe 30 students in the experimental implicit group, maybe 30 students in the experimental explicit group, and maybe 30 students as control groups. So this is my sample. Of course, it's important to follow ethical considerations throughout your research, but I chose to put it here under data collection because this is an area where always ethical considerations are very important. It's important to ensure voluntary participation. People participate voluntarily in the experiment, and that you collect informed consent from the people participating. You ensure anonymity of participation, that then the personal identifiers of people or of the participants are removed. Confidentiality of the data, that you keep it in a place that not everybody can access. No, only the researchers and maybe the research assistants. That you don't cause harm to the participants, and that you communicate results in an ethical way without any kind of fabrication. If you've collected the data, then we will move on to data analysis. I can see some comments in the chat. I will get back to them just once I finish this part because of the time. With data analysis in quantitative research, we often talk about descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. Descriptive statistics describe the characteristics of a data set. It is a simple technique to describe, show, and summarize data in a meaningful way. You simply choose a group you're interested in, record data about the group, and then use summary statistics and graphs. So this is something like a table that you will choose with descriptive statistics, where there is the minimum, maximum, mean, standard deviation, etc. Inferential statistics is different. It's not only summary of the data, but it's drawing conclusions about populations by examining the sample. So it allows to make inferences about the entire set, including specific examples within it based on information obtained from a subset of examples. So these inferences rely on the principle of evidence and utilize sample statistics as a basis for drawing broader conclusions. This is an example of a table where there is, for example, ANOVA test. So we have here an inferential statistics, and we're trying to look at the significant value. Lots of comparisons you can find online between descriptive and inferential statistics. I'll highlight a few of them here. The purpose of descriptive statistics is to describe and summarize data, while the purpose of inferential statistics is to make inferences and draw conclusions. In descriptive statistics, we analyze and interpret the characteristics of a data set, while in inferential statistics, we use sample data to make generalizations. Our aim is to try to draw inferences about the population and to generalize. In descriptive statistics, we focus on the entire population or data set, while in inferential statistics, we look at the subset of the population, which is the sample, in order to draw conclusions about the entire population. In descriptive statistics, we use things like mean, median, mode, standard deviation, frequency, while in inferential statistics, we use tests most of the time, like ANOVA, chi-square, t-test. And of course, the general goal of descriptive statistics is to summarize, organize, and present data, while the general goal of inferential statistics is to generalize findings to a larger population. Of course, you can do very simple statistics based on the statistics courses you take in your undergraduate program. You can use descriptive statistics. Some studies in the humanities and social sciences, descriptive statistics are very much enough. Just frequencies and mean and median and standard deviation, and that's it. That's very much enough. And some studies require inferential statistics. So all this depends on your research question, and so and also on what is common in the literature. Also, it's very important to know this is the typical thing in this kind of studies. Like, for example, I do some studies on pragmatics, and sometimes descriptive statistics are very much enough in pragmatics under linguistics. But when I do psycholinguistics under linguistics again, no, it's not enough. It's very sophisticated inferential statistics actually is required. All right, we've come now to the last part of our session, which is you've already done your project, you collected the data, you chose your research question, you chose your research design, your research method, you collected the data. Now you even analyzed the data. Now you have to show your results and discuss them with other people. So this is the time where you'll have the poster and you will be showing it to people and communicate with others. So it's very important to know your audience. Who are you communicating your results to? You're communicating results to undergraduate students at the Undergraduate Research Forum. Then you have to choose specific language and specific style, because you cannot go too complicated. You know a lot about your topic, but others don't. So always remember this. So you try to simplify what you know. And you have to choose the right format. As you can see, there are lots of formats here. For example, for charts and graphs, maybe you will choose which one really fits your work. You need to make sure that you have answered the questions you have raised before. Use clear and concise language. Try to engage the audience with you. Try to ask them, what is your feedback? What do you think? What is your input here about the methods that I used? This kind of discussion is very important. You don't only explain the results you find, but you also try to relate them to other studies. So you will say that I found that students in Saudi Arabia perceive ChatGPT as very helpful tool, and they use it to improve their academic writing. This is in line, or this is aligned with other studies that were conducted in Egypt, in Syria, in Qatar, but it does not align with studies that were conducted, for example, in China or Korea, in which students found it as a threat. Of course, I'm just trying to give you examples of how you will compare your results with others. This, I don't know about these studies, but I'm just trying to tell you that you need to discuss your results, not only that I found this. So how does this fit in the wider scope, in the wider context? What does this contribute to the literature or the work of others? You need to try to do that. Also, you need, in order for your study to be, your project to be relevant, you need to discuss implications, limitations, and recommendations. And I will explain each one of them in 1 minute. Implications of your research can either be practical or theoretical. The former is the direct impact of your findings on related practices, while the latter is the impact on the theories. So, an example of a practical implication, if you're researching a teaching method, the implication would be how teachers can use that method based on your findings. Or an example of a theoretical implication, that you will say that this theory needs to be extended in a specific way in order to have a broader perspective. For example, I was studying a theory about the bilingual lexicon, which is the dictionary we have in our mind. And I found that they do not account enough for the emotion part of our, or the emotion aspect of language. And so I would just say that the models of the bilingual lexicon need to be expanded to cater for the emotion aspect of our language. Also, it's important to be aware and to communicate the limitations of your study. Almost all studies have limitations, have some kind of weaknesses. So you just need to acknowledge these limitations and to see them as an opportunity to make suggestions for future research, and also to uh, demonstrate that you have really thought critically about your work and you are aware of what areas should be improved. Maybe the limitations can be that the sample size was small, maybe that you did not have enough reliable data, maybe that you used an instrument or a measure that had some criticism or some question mark about in the literature. Maybe you relied only on self-reported data. So these are some examples of limitations that you may wish to acknowledge. And of course, you need to describe each limitation in detail, but also you need to be able to explain why this limitation happened. Why is it that you collected data only from women and not from men? This is a limitation, because I had access only to the women campus in my university. I did not have access to the men campus, but future research can collect data from both men and women. Why did you collect data only from 200 tweets and not from 1,000 tweets? Because I was doing manual coding. And so in manual coding, I cannot do 1,000 tweets. Maybe another study can use corpus tools and can do 1,000 tweets. So you have to be ready with the reason, and also you have to be ready with what you suggest in the future. And here comes the directions for future research. You are aware where to go next. And this comes from your findings, from your limitations, but also what you suggest in the future needs to be feasible, needs to be doable, achievable, not something that is too far-fetched, nobody can ever do. And also you can come up with the directions for future research based on your results. If you've done something in one context, maybe in the Arab world, but there was nothing that was done in, for example, other Asian countries, you may recommend that this needs to be replicated in other Asian countries or in other African countries, or there is a gap, for example, with Eastern Europe or whatever. You can also bring something to other contexts. What we've done so far is that we've talked about how we choose a research topic, how we develop our research questions, then how we do our background, literature, and theoretical framework, how we choose our research design and methods, how we collect data, analyze data, present the results, and discuss them. And these are some comments that you can use to discuss future research. These are some phrases that you can use, like further examination of whatever could develop insight into, etc. This is one example, for instance, of how you can discuss, again, suggestions for future research. I'll leave it for half a minute for you to read. All right. So now, what about you? You need to start today to prepare for the Undergraduate Research Forum. Um, I'm not sure what your plans are. I would like to ask about your plans, but let me share with you some of my suggestions, and then I will address the questions and ask you about your plans. My suggestions: prepare thoroughly. It's a very interesting experience, and you will enjoy it, of course, but you also need to benefit from it as much as possible. Attend the other training sessions. There are still training sessions on how to make an abstract and how to make a poster. So please do attend these sessions, they will help you a lot. Practice your poster presentation. Practice, practice, practice makes perfect, right? Join the forum early, come early. Don't come only for your session. Enjoy the whole event. Join other presentations and network. Maybe you will be surprised. You will find people from other universities working on similar projects, right? So you need to network with them, you need to learn from them, etc. Ask and welcome questions. Try to ask people what they think of your work. Try to ask them about their work and try also to welcome questions about your work. Try to take notes from all these discussions for next projects that you will do. And I will tell you, enjoy the journey. Don't only be happy with the final outcome, but it's a journey. Research is a journey that we enjoy. We have, all of us have lots of questions in mind, and we need to find answers to these questions. It is this curiosity that keeps us going and that makes the journey enjoyable, especially that we know that we can have impact on people's lives and on the society as at large. Thank you very much for being here today again. And let me now look at the comments, and then I will ask you, what are you doing to prepare? So let me look at the comments. Thank you for asking about the slides. Well, the whole event is recorded and it will be edited and it will be shared. So I think it will be made available through the Research and Initiative Center. Okay, Dr. Muhammad already replied. I'm sorry. um, Yes, yes, we do encourage all students to participate in the forum. It's a great opportunity, as I said at the beginning, for different reasons, and I will share the reasons again. All participants have a certificate of attendance, yes. Uh, okay, and there is the link also for the Undergraduate Research Forum now in the chat. If anybody has questions or comments, I'll be very happy to answer them. And I want, for those who joined us late, to remind you of some reasons why you should join the why should you join the Undergraduate Research Forum and undergraduate research. As I said before, it helps you for your graduate and professional school. It helps you improve your academic achievement. It helps you identify your career goals better. Um, it helps you with very important transferable skills. It improves your written and oral communication skills, critical thinking, technical skills, information literacy. It helps you engage better with the community, with your faculty, fellow students, and it improves your confidence, which is very important, of course, for your career. If you have any questions and comments, we still have like 5 minutes to go. So you may ask any questions if you'd like. Let me ask undergraduate students here in the audience, have you already started preparing? And if you've started preparing, at what stage you are now from this journey that we went through? Anybody would like to share? You've started, Mariam? Excellent. And at what stage? Have you already only thought of a topic? Have you already formulated your questions? You're at the survey stage. Excellent. Have you collected the survey data already, or you're still designing the survey? Not yet. You haven't collected the data. But you know, they always say time spent on preparing surveys is time gained. Because if you prepare the survey very well, then you will collect the data very quickly. But if there are any problems with the survey, any sentence that is not well phrased, etc., you know, then you will collect data and then you will regret it that you collected the data. So go ahead. I mean, take your time doing a good survey, and we still have time. You can submit your abstract until mid-April. So we still have time for you to apply. Unmute participants. I don't know how to do this. Let me see.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Dr. Mohammed.
Yeah, because thank you, Dr. Dina, for this insightful presentation. Because I think they give you the control of everything. You know, that's why. So maybe that's why the participant cannot ask directly. So I would ask now the students or any participant if they have questions, so they can ask directly Dr. Dina. And thank you, Dr. Dina, to encourage our students to participate in the event, which will happen after a few weeks, I think.
Thank you so
So
much,
any
Dr.
question,
Mohammed.
please feel free to ask. And you just raise your voice and talk freely. And you can understand that we present three types of presentation under methodology and research methodology, because we know that our students, they come from different backgrounds, and that's why we choose one from science, one from business and marketing, and Dr. Dina from social science and etc. So to give a broad range, and you can see from the presentation they are somehow different, and they are all useful for you. Thank you, Dr. Dina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed. Anyway, I mean, here is my email address. Just a minute.
Yes, sure.
If anybody would like to contact me later with any questions or comments, I'll be very happy to address them. Let me just make slideshow. Here is my email address. If you could just take note of it, and please feel free to contact me anytime with questions.